We all love to play games, especially GTA, Saints Row, and many other well-known series, which, by the way, feminists want to cancel. But what have these games done to them? Why do they want to cancel them? Today we will talk about Collective Shout and why they are so angry at the gaming industry, and most importantly, why all these claims look more like an attempt to censor than a real concern for equality. Collective Shout is an Australian feminist organization founded in 2009, which, by the way, in 2014, achieved that Target and Kmart in Australia stopped selling GTA 5, and more recently, after finding hundreds of games with themes of rape, incest, sexual violence on Steam and itch.io, the group turned to Visa and MasterCard. They stopped processing payments and the games were removed. Its mission is to counter the sexualization of girls and the objectification of women in media and culture. The initiator of this movement was Melinda Tancarter-Rice, a well-known Australian publicist and activist. But why is there talk about banning any games at all? It's 2025 and the video game industry has long been the most profitable entertainment industry. Games have long overtaken cinema, music, and even sports in terms of revenue. For millions of people around the world, they are not just a way to kill time, but a full-fledged culture. But along with the growth and popularity of games, the army of critics has also grown. And here comes the most interesting part. Some of the loudest critics turned out to be feminist organizations that see games as a source of toxic masculinity and objectification of women. And this is where our beloved Collective Shout comes out. Their position is simple: if a game allows you to harm women or sexualize characters, it means that the game directly supports discrimination. Now the question is, do players really perceive everything that happens in GTA as a guide to action? I've been playing games practically since birth, and you know what? I have never met a person who, after playing Duke Nukem, decided, I'll go and smash a bar in real life because that's what my favorite hero did. But activists are not interested in such arguments. They build their campaigns on emotions and loud slogans and not on real facts. The result is a funny situation. When you play GTA, it's absolutely normal to shoot at police officers, run over pedestrians, rob banks, and sell weapons. But if your character in the game looks at a girl wrong or her skirt turns out to be shorter than it should be, that's it. It's a disaster. Urgent petition, urgent cancellation, urgently save society. Sometimes it seems to me that activists really think that players don't distinguish between reality and virtuality. As if I were to come out of a mission in Saints Row and be like, well, that's it. I'm off to build an army of clowns and seize neighborhoods. And this is precisely our main conflict. Feminist organizations like Collective Shout are convinced that games shape culture, and therefore, if a woman is shown as a sexualized object in a game, this perpetuates sexism in reality. If you open the list of games that most often fall under the sights of feminist campaigns, you get the impression that these are the top favorite games of every teenager from the mid-2000s to the present day. Here are Grand Theft Auto, Duke Nukem, Saints Row, and even projects like Dead or Alive, Hitman, or Witcher. And each time the argumentation looks more or less the same. These games form a toxic perception of women, perpetuate stereotypes, and normalize violence. And here is where the most interesting part begins. Collective Shout, being an organization that officially declares the fight against the sexualization and exploitation of women in the media, gradually got to games. At first, they mainly criticized advertising, music videos, show business, and magazines. But over time, it became clear that the real goldmine for their campaigns was gaming. Why? It's simple. Video games are a mass market. Unlike magazines or even movies, games are sold all over the world and often contain frankly provocative content. And most importantly, unlike art or cinema, which are always defended with the word freedom of creativity, games are much easier to portray as something childish or destructive to the psyche of teenagers. So at some point, projects like Grand Theft Auto became their main target. GTA is the quintessence of what they hate. Hyperviolence, strip clubs, sex workers, the ability to beat up a police officer, steal a car, and calmly go buy a grenade launcher. There was no need to invent anything here. For a media campaign, this is more than enough. As a result, Collective Shout has repeatedly called for a ban on the sale of GTA in Australia and elsewhere, claiming that the game allegedly teaches violence against women and creates a culture of toxic masculinity among teenagers. But GTA is okay. At least it has a wide range of topics: crime, corruption, absurd satire on modern society. But when it comes to Duke Nukem, feminist activists' eyes literally light up. Duke Nukem is a game in which the main character is a caricature macho, a parody of all the stereotypes about a real man from the 90s. He smokes a cigar, makes stupid jokes about women, goes to strip bars, and shoots aliens. That is, Duke Nukem is the quintessence of what modern feminist movements consider a toxic masculine ideal. And the game itself was originally created as a satire and a parody. But, as usual, they do not perceive satire. What is important to them is that teenagers will copy the character's behavior. Next comes Saints Row, which at one time was positioned as an even crazier alternative to GTA. Here we have crazy sexual jokes and entire lines of customization, including sex toys as weapons. And of course, scenes that, from the point of view of activists, look like normalization of dominance and violence. As a result, in the eyes of Collective Shout and similar organizations, such games do not look like entertainment projects, but like a cultural threat, raising a generation of male rapists. And here I have a sarcastic question. Guys, seriously? Do you really think that someone having played Saints Row will then decide to go out on the street and actually use a rubber dildo as a weapon? When you look at everything that Collective Shout does, it immediately becomes clear they are not playing against games so much as against the very idea of freedom of expression in the media. Yes, they have beautiful packaging, they talk about caring for children, protecting women, high moral standards. But if you peel away this layer of pathos, you can see that they have one approach. Ban it because we don't like it. Why do they cling so much to games like GTA, Saints Row, or Duke Nukem? Because it's games that give the player freedom. In a movie, you watch a scene, but in a game, you decide what to do. And that's where their fear kicks in. If you give a person a choice, they'll definitely choose the bad thing. But that's complete nonsense. Most people can tell reality from a game perfectly well. GTA doesn't teach people to kill, just like Duke Nukem doesn't make men sexist. It's all hyperbole, satire, and sometimes trash for fun. Games are art. And like any art, they can be tough, provocative, absurd, and unpleasant. But that doesn't mean they're bad or that they should be canceled. But attempts to deprive us of the right to choose what we like, that's really toxic. So the next time you hear some group calling for GTA or some other inconvenient project to be canceled, ask yourself a simple question. Who gave them the right to decide for all of us anyway? The irony is that the same people who advocate for freedom, diversity, and acceptance are very quick to turn into censors when faced with something that goes beyond their understanding. And games are precisely there to expand those boundaries.